Good afternoon and welcome to News Today at 12. My name is Patricia Gasso. In the headlines today, United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon appoints former President John Ajikun Kufuor and former Prime Minister of Norway Jens Stoltenberg as special envoy on climate change. In business, National Petroleum Authority says it is introducing a new mechanism to check altered petroleum product. And to our first story, residents of some communities resettled to make way for construction of the Bui Dam in the Bono-Ahafo region are unhappy about losing their livelihood. Whilst the farmers say they have less fertile farmlands in the new areas, the fisher folks are complaining about the long distances they have to travel to access the reservoir formed when the Black Volta was impounded.
In all, 7 villages were affected and resettled on either side of the Black Volta, which separates the northern region from the Bono-Ahafo region. This places the Bui Dam between the two regions. The Bui and Bato Akonyakrom communities used to be in the middle of the river, close to the mountain, but the two communities were submerged when the Black Volta was impounded. The Dokochina community, I'm told, was beyond the mountain, close to the Ghana Ivory Coast boundary. So they had to be relocated because they were isolated from the rest of us, and they would have had to use ferry to connect to us, or alternatively use road through Côte d'Ivoire to get into the country. The people of Bui and Dokochina are predominantly farmers, while the mainly Ewe folks of Bato Akanyakrom are fishermen. Though residents of these communities acknowledge the better housing Bui Power Authority has provided, they claim the new area hardly supports their primary occupations.
We as the fishing community, we weren't happy to go far away from the lake. So we were hoping that we'll be positioned at a place. You know, fishermen, even you can go on fishing at any moment at your own will. Afternoon, evening, even in the night.
How far are you from the lake now?
From it's about 5 to 6 kilometers away from the lake.
So how do you manage to get there and come back?
It's quite challenging. This had made most of us to withdraw, to resign, to terminate our work.
Their homes were very close to the river in their old villages. But now, due to the distance, both the young and old mostly depend on these tricycles, which have become quite popular. Mohammed Ali, who is said to be the chief farmer in Dokochina, claims he had thousands of cashew trees planted on 120 acres of land, as well as 30 acres of yam. He says he also grew cassava and maize. However, he laments he was not well compensated by the BPA for the huge amount of crops he lost when his village was relocated.
70 trips.
70 cashew trees.
Cashew diabacono. And ye biano, ubitumania bese half bag. I was so. Auntie, I don't know half bag on crying ye build the codjasa by our mess cashew diabacubiano, ubitumania 500,000. Compensation no so mutua mae no mutua me ohwa me de no me check ye no akwa say cashew dua ba ku bia 8 cedis cashew no compensation any bayire no any bank na ni nyina akoye 1 billion.
According to him, about 16 acres of land on which he now grows maize, cassava and yam at the resettlement area lacks fertility, making cultivation difficult. Bato Akanyakrom's head fishmonger Comfort Duodo tells me her mud grill has not been busy for months because they no longer enjoy bumper harvest fishing in the reservoir.
I'm over for reservoir. Now the new son at Titi or Willia, the population was of Bonade and Titi or Mongal and Antamagalio. Gear no 1 yamili. Over no gamma conficie, gammas war bo vision. Like a mere day and a BP, I mean, ya be gamma no, Benemiomiano gamma, tiny Migula Gamaqua. Mimilo bog by you or Siki Miomiaga, that a bog by Juta, Miomili. If you have a quad araya. She no buy a comical school fish who have met a fear empty. I look million. I'm your most of what you got a mechanical if you have, you know. Okay, when I took a
She's not alone in her misery. The stories to threats of livelihoods were echoed by several members of the communities. The BPA, however, insists it has provided an appreciable amount of infrastructural and financial support to affected communities, bearing in mind their great sacrifices that made the Bui Dam a reality.
Before the communities were resettled, what we did was that we helped them get a farmland. So before they were moved, they had been given a new farm area and given financial support. Each household was given a financial support of a 70 Ghana cedi. That was, at that time, was enough to help them till 2 acres of farmland. All the 3 communities that are here agreed that they want to be resettled here. It's not a case that they were forcefully brought to the resettlement, and we have letters to that effect.
That notwithstanding, the communities want the kind of development that goes beyond the provision of beautiful houses.
This settlement package goes along with livelihood empowerment. And the livelihood empowerment, everybody is now talking about industrialization. And since the dam has been constructed, small-scale farming can be introduced. And before that even, the government will have to, train our people here, give them some sort of training. Maybe in the application of fertilizers, giving them credit facilities, and then creating storage facilities, as well as the training even can also be a way against post-harvest losses.
All that residents desire is an enabling environment where the youth can pick up skills and knowledge, an environment full of job opportunities, and a community alive with commercial activities. From the Bui Power Authority resettlement, Adelaide Arthur for Joy News.
The Industrial and Commercial Workers Union ICU Solomon Cortez says the Public Utility and Regulatory Commission should in future consider reduced tariffs for industry to ensure sustained growth and job creation. The Public Utility Regulatory Commission PURC Monday announced 9.73% and 6.80 increment in electricity and water tariff respectively from January 1st, 2014.
Well, in our view, this is something that we had expected because in the recent hikes that we saw and the agitation that brought us a 25% downtrend, it was obvious that if even a person who causes the garbage must pay for it, and those of us who are also consuming power, obviously we must also pay for it. We have called for these automatic adjustment formula to be applied. We are hoping that it will not all the time come up with increases. We are hoping that a time will come that we'll also see a nosedive with some decreases. So for us, well, we will take it in the stride of it and hope that this will strengthen the quality services that the utility services are supposed to provide for us. Well, all other things being equal, what you have said must be the perfect situation for us, so that those in industry will also be receiving some relief to enable them keep industry running and keep employment going. But if, as we are seeing now, they are all crying about the triggers that are coming in, obviously we are going to be hit with some kind of unemployment for now. So I think it is not out of the question for PURC to consider to give some relief to higher consumers within the industry. If we look at the rate of unemployment and we keep advocating that the economy will be driven by the private sector, and the private sector can only stand on its feet if some of these reliefs are coming in, because the increases we had in the last time already compels some employers to shut down certain units and departments, therefore creating some level of unemployment. And we think if this view that you have shared, which already is being propounded by organized labor, the PURC will look at it and look at it again in order to save the economy.
The National Health Insurance Scheme, which previously was registering a little over 4,000 persons, has registered more than 1 million subscribers this year. Officials say the Livelihood and Empowerment Program and other government social interventions has helped enroll the very poor and vulnerable persons and the various communities which otherwise could not have registered under the scheme.
In 2010, the National Health Insurance Scheme enrolled 117,295 indigents. This number, officials say, increased to 342,127 in 2011 and 3,993,000 in 2012. The 2013 indigents registration this year of about 1.12 million is the highest so far and represents approximately 280% increase over 2012 figures.
We try to absorb people in other government programs like safety or social protection programs, like people who are already in the LEAP program. We ensure that we absorb them into the scheme. In other programs like school feeding program, amongst other places, we decided to register a lot of school children also in deprived communities. And this, together with other things we did, and the number is increased quite tremendously, and we are very happy with that. This is not the end. We want to improve. We want to do more. We want to ensure that we want to get to a point where we will have all people in Ghana covered.
The authority notes it hopes to expand its membership coverage and renewal of their insurance in 2014.
We hope to reach about 60% coverage of the country over a certain period of time. So extend the scope of our e-claim system. E-claims extend tremendously our biometric or instant ID card system. You know, we started it this year. We also want to have very wide consultations and discussions on the capitation matter. We want to extend it to other parts of the country.
The National Health Insurance Scheme enroll people classified as very poor free of charge. These persons do not pay membership processing fees and annual premium. The cost of their membership is borne by government.
At least 26,621 lives were lost through road accidents from January 2000 to September 2013, while about 70,000 people sustained various degrees of injury within the same year. According to statistics made available by the National Road Safety Commission, 2,503 lives were lost between January 2000 and December 2010 in road accident that left 63,384 people injured. On monthly basis, an average of 170 people died and 500 suffered injuries in the period of 10 years. Also, in the last 2 years, about 4,579 lives were lost as a result of road accident, leaving more than 6,000 people injured and causing more people permanent injuries. From January to September this year, 1,539 people had perished, while 9,741 others were injured in 10,558 reported road crashes nationwide. The figures means an average of 171 deaths occurred and 1,182 were injured in 1,113 crashes involving 1,084 vehicles monthly in the last 9 months. On the line now is the Greater Accra National Road Safety Manager, Daniel Wuku. Hello, Daniel.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
These figures that I just mentioned, how worrying are they?
Very worrying because, before we even attempt to tackle an issue, we must know the magnitude of the problem or of the issue. And therefore, if more than 26,000 people have been lost to road accidents within 13 years in just this country alone, it must concern all of us. These figures, we are not just putting out these figures there to just, we are putting out these figures to alarm us, to awaken us, to do something about the situation. So the figures are worrying, all right, but this is the reality. And therefore, we must tackle the reality. And that's why we have always been calling on everybody. As we always say, road safety should be a shared and collective responsibility. I have a role to play, you have a role to play. Every sector of this economy has a role to play as far as road safety is concerned.
Okay. So are these figures likely to worsen?
Not that they are likely to worsen. If we do not do anything about it, it will worsen. That is why we need to rise up as a people, as a nation, as an individual, as a driver, as a passenger, as a pedestrian, as a driver union, as an NGO, as a nation, let's all rise up and tackle this issue. Okay. If we do nothing about it, it will get worse. But we must do something about it so that we bring it down. And there's a possibility of bringing it down because statistics shows that more than 80% of the reasons why all these accidents occur is due to human error.
Okay.
And that is even where we have the strength. If it is due to human error, then we can change our behaviors, we can change our attitudes, we can change, or we have the possibility or opportunity to change the way we do things.
Okay.
So that we,
these figures are actually alarming. So what are the measures you are putting in place to avoid these accidents in the coming years?
There are a number of measures that we have put in place. For example, road safety itself is an area or a subject where different sectors have a role to play in it. The National Road Safety Commission has a role to play in it to create the awareness that this is the situation, this is the problem, and educate the public. The road agencies have their role to play where they have to make sure the roads are in good shape, they are maintained, safety measures of safety furniture is provided on the road. The DVLA has a role to play where they license genuine drivers and put genuine cars on the road. The police have their role to play where they have to ensure that the rules and regulations that govern the use of the road are enforced, so people are following those rules and regulations. The driver unions, for example, have their role to play where, for example, before even a vehicle leaves their station, they have a union. It's a union. They know all the vehicles that leave the station. Why can't they make sure that the vehicles that leave the stations are in good shape? The driver who is going to drive that vehicle is not under the influence of alcohol.
Okay.
And then even has a license that will drive that particular car. Because, for example, you cannot use a license B, like driving license, to drive a Sprinter bus. You understand? So we all have a role to play. Even the pedestrian, the passenger, we all have roles to play. If you are a passenger, you are in a vehicle, and the driver is doing something that is not right on the road, we all see it all the time. Why do we have to keep quiet? So I was so delighted even last weekend when I heard His Excellency the President calling on even drivers to report the passengers to report drivers that are not doing the right on the road to the police. And that the passengers even have the responsibility for their own safety in the vehicle. So don't just sit down, let the driver do whatever he likes to do, to drive you to death. I mean, why? We must speak up. And then the passengers must come as a body. They must rise up as a body, one voice, and attack or address this issue.
Okay. Thank you very much, Daniel.
You are welcome.
And that was Daniel Wuku, the Greater Accra National Road Safety Manager. I think we all have to, in one way or the other, help in reducing road accident. Moving on, United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has appointed former President John Ajacum Kufuor and former Prime Minister of Norway, Jens Stoltenberg, as special envoy on climate change. The two former leaders are to assist heads of state and government around the world in mobilizing the political will and action in advancing the 2014 climate summit that will be held in New York in 2014. You're still live on Joynews on Multi TV. We go for a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The National Petroleum Authority says it is introducing a new mechanism to check altered petroleum product. The NPA says it will introduce a chemical from next year that will be put in the petroleum product to check the authenticity and purity. According to the NPA, it has had to deal with some unscrupulous people who alter the product to make some unfair gains on unsuspecting victims. Minister of Trade and Industry Haruna Idrisu says government will commit up to 1 million Ghana cedis next year to revamp the Northern Star tomato factory at Paulugu in the Upper East region, which has been defunct for some time now. The Trade Minister made this known after inaugurating a 7-member interim management board of the factory at Paulugu in the Upper East region on Monday. Upper East correspondent Albert Sore reports.
The 7-member interim management board for the Northern Star tomato factory is made up of 6 men and a lady and will be chaired by Donatus Akamugri. The swearing-in of the interim management board by the Trade Minister is expected to kickstart the process of revamping the Northern Star tomato factory, which has been non-functional for several years. Trade and Industry Minister Haruna Idrisu said government is committing a lot of resources next year into getting the Paulugu tomato factory back on track and also to improve agricultural trade in the Upper East region.
The commitment of government in 2014 will be to spend up to 1 million Ghana cedis in getting Paulugu tomato factory or the Northern Star tomato factory much more viable and efficient. We will re-equip, rehabilitate and modernize some of your equipments with those funding, which I believe will be provided by the Ministry of Trade and Industry. And it must also be noted that government should not just be blamed for poor weather performance. We are at the problem associated with weather can certainly not be blamed on the government of Ghana. If yields are not forthcoming because of bad weather, that should be attributed to bad weather.
Haruna Idrisu later toured the factory together with the Upper East Regional Minister and was obviously not impressed with the state of the factory.
And I should be disappointed and ashamed that even though we have a Northern Star tomato factory, weather vagaries, weather challenges have not supported the production of tomatoes, and it's an imperative for government to invest in irrigation infrastructure for year-round farming for all the farmers in this area. So whether there are rains or poor rains, you can't be dependent on that irrigation facility. But I'm not a happy person seeing that it is not viable, it is not as functional and operational as it should be.
According to the minister, serious work on the Northern Star tomato factory is expected to begin by the first quarter of 2014. Albert Soris reports.
The Bank of Ghana has been advised to come out with a regulatory support framework to govern the operations of microfinance institutions in the country. Some operating microfinance companies who are making this appeal say drastic changes must be made to the framework to save the industry from collapse. They concern the microfinance industry is losing its public credibility and needs the attention of government to get public acceptability. The present free entry into the sector, according to them, is a potential threat to the growth of the industry, which handles a large chunk of the country's economy. They are therefore asking the central bank to prepare a draft supervision and protection code that would be adopted by all microfinance institutions for their operations. The festive season has heightened the fears of local poultry farmers over cheap imported frozen chicken dominating the market. The Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers is worried the long-standing challenge is yet to be resolved and is therefore asking government to quickly introduce a comprehensive policy to oversee the poultry industry.
Local production of broiler chicken is on the low side. In fact, it has dwindled to a current position that we estimate to below 10% of the total market demand, which is beyond 200,000 metric tons. So if you take the 200,000 metric tons, it means that we are producing less than 10% of that. You know, the rest is all coming from imports. We do not have clear-cut policies which map out long-term state plans for this. Added to that is also the absence of legislation for some of the very sensitive aspects of the value chain, especially the day-old chicks production. That is, we don't have any hatchery laws which are regulating the operations of the hatcheries. And besides that, in terms of standards, yes, the Ghana Standards Board has come up with some standards, but the administration of these standards and also the monitoring of them is lacking. We should also be looking at our financial industry. One of the challenges that the farmers face is inappropriate financing packages which are put out there to support them. They should begin to look at the poultry industry as a unique industry with unique packages. And I tell you, if they begin to do that, it will be a gold mine for them. So government policy one side, then the financial industry also on another side. And then our brothers who are importing should also team up with us, tell us, grow. And then we will take it, we will market, and we are in business.
We go for a quick break. We'll be right back. And now to some sports stories brought to you by Tigo. The Ghana Football Association has launched its first ever football directory, a document which covers every information about Ghana football. President of the Ghana FA, Kwesi Nyantechi, said the directory will be a key reference point for all relevant information on Ghana football.
Oh, it's very important for us. You know, this is the first time that we're coming up with such a publication that serves as a one-stop shop for all relevant information on Ghana football, the clubs and the GFA. And it will be a very useful reference point for researchers, for all persons who are interested in the development of football in our country. I believe that as media men, practitioners of football management, as general football fans, everybody should be interested in this publication. And it will serve as a very good reference document in your commentaries, in your researches, and in the course of your work.
The victorious 1991 Black Starlet squad was honored at the first Ghana National Juvenile Court Award held at the Coconut Grove Hotel in Accra over the weekend. The team was recognized alongside over 30 court football stakeholders, including administrators, court clubs, and the Ghana Football Association President Kwesi Nyantechi. Joy Sports cameras were present and captured this.
The GFA to revive hosts. I think that this group deserves a lot of commendation, and we need to clap for them. They know what their fathers stood for, and today, wherever our old man is, will be proud of what his children are trying to do. And I want to assure them that the Ghana Football Association will assist them and support them and cooperate with them to make sure that this dream becomes a reality.
Kampong Travel and Tours have announced hospitality packages for Ghanaians interested in traveling to Brazil to witness the 2014 World Cup. Amongst the packages announced at the launch-themed 2014 Destination Brazil is a dedicated chartered flight to all match venues during the tournament. General Manager of the Kampong Group of Companies, Patrick Dade, has been speaking to Joy Sports.
You know, we want to let the fans know ahead of time for them to be adequately prepared, because everybody hears that Brazil is expensive. Yes, but I believe that if you are able to organize yourself on time, you would be able to meet whatever is required of you to go to Brazil. Even if you look at our package, I think it's on the lower side, and it is on the lower side because we have been able to charter a flight that is going to leave Ghana straight to Brazil. It means you're not going to Europe to connect or anything of such, which is very expensive. And we have taken into consideration all that. That is why we have come out with this package. And this package is not for all the matches too. It's for the group stages matches, because we don't know as to whether we're qualifying for the quarterfinals, we won't be able to bring any package. So this is just the starter. Now, we have made provision for subsequent, games and accommodation and all that. But like I'm saying, this is the starting point. So that is what we can talk about for now.
Mohamed Aboutrika has officially retired after confirming his decision to his club Al Ahly. The 35-year-old Egyptian midfielder announced his intention to retire after the quarter-final of the Club World Cup in Morocco, and Al Ahly failed to persuade him to play one more season. Aboutrika's last match was against Guangzhou on 14th December, a 2-0 defeat in which he limped off at half-time. Aboutrika, who amazed over 100 international caps, won successive African Nations Cup title with Egypt in 2006 and 2008, although he missed the 2010 tournament, which Egypt also won through injury. Welcome back. And award-winning Ghanaian rapper Michael Owusu, known by his stage name Sarkodie, released a new album. Some 15,000 fans joined the Psychology release concert at the Accra Sports Stadium.
The Psychology release concert, which was held over the weekend, saw fans of the rapper gather at the open space of the Accra Sports Stadium to support him as he released his third album, Psychology. The album release concert featured some of his counterpart musicians he had collaborated with. One of them is Joey B, with whom he did the newest song, Tonga, which got the fans crying for more. Patrons, as usual, could not hold back their comments.
I mean, listen, I came out here to support Sarkodie. Incredible album. Joey B signed on to Black Avenue Music, his first time performing Tonga. So we had to come and see it. It was crazy. The crowd called for a repeat. That was amazing. I've never seen it happen before in Ghana ever in my life. So it's a big thing. Ghana Music, Joey B, big ups. Salute everybody that came out to support, Sarkodie's album launch.
I'm very happy. I mean, I've been supporting Sarkodie since I don't know when. And Psychology, this album whole launch thing, this routine, this yearly thing has become very, like, something that everybody knows that, it goes on like every year, So I'm very happy with Sarkodie, and he's working very, very, very hard. You understand? That's who we look up to.
He's one of the best artists we have in the country, so why not? I mean, he's very good at what he does, and I'm very privileged to be part of the album. All the best. Keep it gingham.
We did it once again, in my time, always the expectations are high. We came from nowhere tonight, and we made the show happen. So, thanks to the fans, thanks to Psychology, thanks to everybody.
Patrons are already looking forward to the next concert.
That was all for News Today, but before we go, a look again at the headlines. United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon appoints former President John Ajikun Kufuor and former Prime Minister of Norway Jens Stoltenberg as special envoy on climate change. In business, National Petroleum Authority says it is introducing a new mechanism to check altered petroleum products. Thanks for staying. My name is Patricia Gasu. Good afternoon.